Welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with Bear Wade, or you can call him Brandon Wade, but I think Bear is a way cooler name. His website is unify-agency.com. And more than a decade ago, Bear Wade turned his self-financed film into an award-winning documentary for public television. And now we're going to be talking today about brand messaging, about video, about making websites. So Bear, glad to be talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you and appreciate you. So can you tell us, what is your uniqueness? What is your shtick? What makes you stand out? Why should we sit up and pay very close attention to what you're doing?
Sure. My biggest thing is that you should build your marketing in order. There's an order to building marketing, and nobody is talking about it. And after doing it for 20 years, I have this battle cry of make sure, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, make sure you're building your marketing in order. You'll save a ton of time, a ton of money, and a ton of heartache. And so that's my big battle cry.
So do you mean that when you say, and I'm being sarcastic, but when you should do things in the specific order of importance, I should make business cards first, right? I should think of my email signature line first, right? So as far as the order of things, like what is the wrong order and what's the right order?
Well, I had people, because I have a filmmaker background, people would come to me for video, for video production. And every time I'd get into a meeting for video production, I'd ask the client, we're going to put your domain name at the end, make sure that, your website, and how is it looking? Is it converting viewers into paid customers? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, well, we have a website, but it also needs work. And we kind of look at each other like, well, then why do the video, first, like, let's push pause on it. Let's get your website in order, and, kind of get your funnel figured out. And then from there, we'd start working on their website, and we'd say, every good website has a logo, brand colors, authentic photography, some sort of value proposition or brand script that says, why we should choose you over the other guy, and some sort of call to action. And I'd say, do you have those in place? And they'd say, well, we have a logo, but my uncle made it in PowerPoint 10 years ago. And it's stop me if you've heard this one. And so I was kind of like, okay, so I just realized after doing this for 20 years, backwards or the wrong way, that, oh my God, there's an order to these things. And if we just did it in the right order, then we'd have a much better chance of not messing it up and having more of I say unified look, that I named my company Unify after that. But basically what you're going to do is define everything first, then apply it, and so I always start with a brand script. It's always, if you can put it into words, and if you can say what you do very succinctly and clearly, then you're going to put that everywhere. And, an example of why you'd want to do that is if you, as a video producer, videographer, it is expensive to figure that out for a company, but you have to, as part of the video production. If they don't have that figured out, you have to do that. And that's why video is expensive. And if you're building a website, that if you don't have that stuff figured out, you have to do it as part of the website, because you need that. And if you're building a brochure, you need that stuff to put in the brochure. So once you have those things defined, it's a lot easier to build a website. It's a lot easier to build a brochure, and it's a lot easier to build the video. So now you're just going to collect the stuff and formatting it for the medium. So that's what we're talking about. So I have these things. We call them the Unify Brand Steps. It's kind of a la Dave Ramsey's baby steps, but it's for branding. So if you follow these steps in order, you can save a lot of time, money.
And you make it sound so easy, and like and you're so right that a huge part of the Dave Ramsey type of stuff, it's all about the order of importance. Like, even, it's all things that you've heard of, but then everyone tries to do things in the wrong order, at least as far in that context. And that's why everything's all either like jammed up or working too hard, or this isn't being applied there. And what it reminds me of is like a traditional to-do list, right? Why is a to-do list suck? Because you list all the possible things that you can possibly do. And then
Right.
there's the temptation of like doing 5 things at once. And then you get so overloaded. And then you look at this whole long list and you say, well, that little tiny task looks like a lot of fun. This thing that it won't really make much of a difference and it won't make me much money. But at least if I do this one task number 97 out of 100, at least I can draw a nice little line through it and I'll feel really good for a few
And
minutes.
it
And it's
looks
like,
like I've achieved something. Yeah. Right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you're just fooling yourself, and it's the same idea of like you said, like oh, I want to make a cool video, but I don't have a website yet, or the website's not up and running yet, and it's like, well, it'll make you feel good, but what are you in business for? To make money, or to make some progress, or to help others, or just to be selfish and make yourself look good? And so, is there an easy
Totally.
way for us to kind of get in our heads to encapsulate these kind of bare wade baby steps here?
Yeah, sure. So there's basically 5 of them, and then within them there are kind of sub steps. But basically, you define. Phase 1 is defining. So you're going to define your brand steps. You're going to define your brand identity, and then your brand media. So that's your photography and your explainer video, so people can easily understand what you do in a quick way. We all are learning from video these days, so we want to try and it seems like 9 times out of 10 that I'm looking for a software solution or you know, basically anything online. If I see the video, it's a lot easier for me to understand what service I'm getting and what I'm not getting. So having that video in place. Then once you have that done, it's about, but this seems like a weird time to talk about it, but you want to define your pricing structure. How how does somebody work with you? What does it cost? What are the deliverables? And if it's a product, you want to make sure you're defining what that product is. And if it's services, you want to also make sure you define it. But this is where you do it, because then you're going to apply it to the website. So you aren't building a website yet. So we haven't talked about websites yet, and a lot of people start there, and then they're like trying to reverse engineer, and then they're doing it twice, and everything costs a lot more. After that, then you're building your website. Now that you know like what you're selling and what your brand script's about, it's a lot easier to build the website. Now you're just applying your brand media and your pricing structure and your and your brand script to the website. From there, you're working on your print media if you have print media needs. So that business card you're talking about, or a brochure, or any other like one sheet handout that you want to have to explain what you do to people in a face-to-face way, which is kind of going away as we're all quarantined. But as things are opening back up, print's going to be even more valuable. So that's where you're gonna do that. After that, phase 3 is all about growing. You want to make sure you have a customer list. You want to have some sort of lead generation figured out, and define some sort of campaign initiative. You're going to package up some service or product that you offer that is that people can wrap their minds around, and then you want to continue to push out. And people can understand what you're selling. From there, phase 4 is ongoing. So once you've kind of built that whole platform, and it's out and it's in the world, you want to define your content pipeline so you can continue to serve your customers or your prospective customers, and define the roles. So if you start to have a team, you're and not having to do everything yourself, which I highly recommend so you don't burn yourself out. It's about who's doing what and who's going to follow up with what, and so defining that. Then from there, it's about defining your content schedule. So now that we know who's doing what kind of content are we going to get out there? What are the pain points of our potential customers? What are they struggling with? And how can we articulate why we're the solution, over and over in different ways? So that's the content schedule. From there, we're going to figure out how to deploy that content, and that's part of ongoing. And then from there, it's scaling. The last step is how can we make it bigger and better, and reach more people, serve more people. And so we analyze what's working first, just to make sure that we hone it in as best we can. And then from there, we're going to work on some sort of project management system. There's no point in getting all these orders coming in if we can't fulfill them and track them. We can, drop the ball there for sure. And so we want to make sure we have some sort of management system there in place, and that it's honed and everybody on your team can follow it. And then from there, it's just about hiring, delegating, training, following up, inspiring your team to do better than what you could do by yourself. Ooh, it's a lot, but if you do that in order, all this stuff is listed on our website too. So it's all free access to it, and it's much more helpful to read through it, and you can figure out which brand step you're on and go from there.
Well, it is a lot, but it's relatively speaking, it's less than what normally is a lot, right? Usually you hear about all this like social media stuff and all these harebrained ideas. And what I'm getting a lot from your philosophy here, your steps, is it seems to all be about like the conciseness and the short attention span, at least from just kind of getting a first impression of your steps here, because you're mentioning things like in the beginning, like defining your brand, what you do, your unique selling proposition, basically, and saying, like, packaging it in a short, easy, concise way to tell people what it is that you do. And you're mentioning things in there like the print media. And what came to mind there was, I send things out in the mail all the time to customers. Like sometimes I'll print like a 1 or 2 page letter, or just a quick, basically like very condensed sales letter, and I'll print off a couple hundred and like send some in the mail to like my top 100 lead score customers, just to kind of hit them a different way. You mentioned about things. You mentioned about like the content schedule. And again, since we seem to be on like a Dave Ramsey theme today, like I love Dave Ramsey's YouTube channel, and I love how he has like 5 of them, and they're all just focused on like 3 to 6 minute sort of questions people like call into. And I look at like what's on the YouTube page for him, or like whatever comes my way on the subscriptions. I'm like, that's one of my questions, or that's one thing that I would want to know. Or like, I think even the whole reason I even found because I knew of him, but finding his YouTube channel, I think at one point I typed in some kind of a financial question, and just because he has hundreds or thousands of these little videos made that aren't just here's me, here's what I'm about, it's here's the problem that you're already searching for, let me get in front of you, let me explain it, and then let me kind of use that to draw you in. And then you're even mentioning things like a lead magnet. And what comes to mind there is, quick landing page, quick PDF document. So, and even like when we first came across each other, you and me, I found this Unify Your Marketing book trailer. And I mean, it's only 1 minute and 12 seconds. So same deal is, and even like you mentioning, like, the branding colors and things like that. And that's, quick judgment, first impression kind of thing. So just the theme so far from you describing your steps and describing your philosophy, it all just seems to be centered around like short attention span. Let's get to it quickly. Let's tell them what we're all about. That way we're not spending 50 minutes getting to the point.
Well, and to Dave Ramsey's, going back to his example, is he's a radio show, right? He's got like a 3-hour show. I think he still, I think he still does. And he's broken up his segments into, each question is now a segment on YouTube. He's putting so many more hooks into the ocean to catch more viewers. And so that is, that idea of like repurposing your content, thinking about it once, making it once, and then slicing and dicing and spreading it everywhere, and turning that, I'm real big on like because I have this video background. It's like you make the video, then transcribe the audio and turn that into a blog post, have the audio become a podcast. And then, you're getting, and then you can cut that up into short little social media posts. And, you can really take a big concept and make it more digestible for our very short social media attention spans. And the same thing with, email. We don't want to write these long essays anymore. It's got to be quick, and let's just get them the quick win, and that's what we're about.
And it's like my thought process, especially these last few years, have been like, and of course we should have a team and scale and delegate and have project management and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at like the total amount of work that's involved, if you're sending an email in 2002, you'd send the big long 20-page long newsletter. But in this current day and age, if it's 2025 or it's 2030 or something, you would make your video, but then the same amount of work would be done in making a still social graphic and making a quick like a headliner, like soundbite kind of thing for social media, and making podcast notes and making a quick tweets and making the emails promoting it. So it seems like it's still all this big long amount of work, but it's like kind of customizing it for each platform and each personality type. So it's not like we're taking a shortcut, or it's not like we're saying, well, I only do 10% of the work I used to do. It's just kind of being smarter with like the saying the same thing, but then leveraging it in all these different ways. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and people learn different ways. So some people like learning by watching videos, some like to read, some listen while they're commuting, and so we have all these different. Some learn by scrolling and reading very quickly, and so we have to meet them where they are. And so this idea of repurposing your content and meeting them where they are is I'm big on. So that's my another takeaway for today.
And along those lines, along the lines of, people are different. What kind of sparks an idea in my head of talking to you is like some of this. I don't know if you could call it cutting edge, but there's like some like advanced kind of like video techniques that sometimes I'm like, that's kind of an interesting idea. So like, for example, sometimes you people talk about like kind of like choose your own adventure kind of courses that branch off. Or I saw this one lady like a couple of years ago had some kind of like a certification course where it was like a non-fast forward video, and you'd watch it and randomly it would stop and say like, it's quiz time, you have to answer a quiz based on something I've said in the last 30 minutes, and you have like 30
Sure.
seconds to respond, and if you responded incorrectly, it would pull you all the way back to the beginning of that lesson. And it makes me think of like all these, sure, they might be like cutting edge or like more advanced things, and there might be like more foundational things that are more important now, but it's like there's all these like cool ideas and things that just like seem to not be used or not be used very much, and like gamification and things like that. So does
Yeah,
anything come in
right.
mind with like some of these cool high-tech video solutions that like I know they're not foundational, but they're just not really used that often these days?
Well, I think that I mean, to be honest, that we're seeing so many really interesting uses of video in the TikTok and Instagram Reels um, era, where transitions are really neat. The use of text is interesting. People are understanding that music really can help make a video interesting. Which, when I started, people understood it, but it wasn't as prolific as it is now. So I mean, I think it's really interesting how it's evolving, and it'll be interesting to see how it continues to morph and grow. But I'm really excited that people understand the power of video, and we're using it to communicate with one another.
Well, fair enough. And so you mentioned a little bit about how you work with clients, and many times they want to do things in like a different order, and you say, hey, wait, here are the steps, or like they're missing out on things, like they're missing like some of like the very basic things they should be doing. And so I'm kind of curious about if you have an interesting, fun client success story case study to share with us, just to kind of demonstrate your magic, what you do as far as you go in there, you apply the secret sauce, you use video to improve someone's business. Any fun stories like that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, we have quite a few, but a couple are. I have a side hustle called Red Meat Lover, which is a YouTube and cooking channel, and it's all about cooking meat, yeah, which is kind of a funny niche. But me and a buddy of mine partnered up, and he's the head of he's the front of the camera guy, and I'm the behind the scenes. And we've grown our YouTube channel we got over 130,000 subscribers, and our website is getting I think over 50,000 views a month. And for being just a side hustle and turning it through, from being just publishing once a month and barely publishing once a month to now publishing once a week, and posting to multiple platforms, and that whole idea of reaching an audience with video has been really fun, and it's fun to see that grow. um, for a client we've had, it wasn't specifically video, but the idea of making sure you build your marketing in order. We have a case study that a client of ours, who I originally did their branding, probably I don't know, 10 years ago. came back to us and they said, we have some marketing money in our budget this year, and we want to, we're thinking about rebranding and trying to, level up some more because we are an industry leader, but we don't quite look like it anymore. Our stuff's dated, and we want to take another crack at it. So we just started over. We some of their branding kind of looks related, so to what it used to be, but we started with their brand script again, and we didn't do it the first time. So we started with the brand script and really narrowed in on what they were, who they were serving, and why they were the right solution, and how they understood the pain points that their viewers were having. And we updated their visual identity, their branding, their logo signature to and their color palette to be more aligned with who they were serving. They're serving nonprofits, so it had to look a little more friendly and a little less corporate. And we updated all their brand media, and they landed as soon as we rolled all this stuff out. We did their business cards and stuff, and they were getting ready to do a trade show, and they landed this client who took one of the partners they lined up work for the rest of the year. So they had him for like on retainer for the next 10 months. And their ROI on their spend with us was some 900%, 943% or something. And so that was worth it, by far, that they got so much more work just by looking like they had their stuff together, by looking professional, being clear. And I'm super proud of them. And we worked ourselves out of a job, but that's totally fine. I'm proud of them anyway.
Well, and there's a few good lessons in those stories. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is, and again, back to the Dave Ramsey again, a phrase he uses a lot is, well, we need, like, where you're cleaning up the mess, right? If someone like comes to
Yeah.
him and he says, you need to go back and do the steps, it's get this student loan out of the way, or get this tax filing out of the way, clean up the mess. That way your life is a lot simpler. And as you're explaining that, where you have that client where they didn't do the branding the first time around, or things matched up but not quite, you have to wonder, with that mess in place, you had to wonder how much were they maybe hesitating, or maybe not having the confidence they needed, or maybe
Right.
they would be like not noticed just enough to not land that big deal. So there's something to be said just in general about keeping it simple and cleaning up the mess. And that's the thing that I noticed. Like, I've been doing podcasting for a bunch of years, but when I first jumped into it and I got all kinds of guests, I noticed how many times people would just like go back every like 2 or 3 years and just redo their website, redo their branding. And I always was super impressed. And I was like, with all the other random things you have going on every week in your life and your business, how do you find time to go back and like refresh these website designs? Because they have steps, right? Because if things are out of order, they can say, let me go back to the very beginning and let me make sure about the colors, about my message, about like we said before, the print media, the freebie, and just go back through and make sure that it's all taken care of, that things are cleaned up. I mean, that's really powerful right there. And the other thing that I noticed from your stories here is even this side hustle you have, even this red meat cooking thing you have as a hobby, you still know your numbers, right? Even though something can be fun and something can be something you're just doing to see where it goes, there's something to be said about taking it seriously. I mean, imagine if you and your friends were hanging out, like playing kickball, and that could be fun every now and then for a few minutes. But imagine if you and your friends were like on a kickball team, and you knew rules, and you knew how to play like games, and you had positions, then you'd have like a higher level of fun. So that's what kind of comes to mind. And I mean, I'm sure with you video guys, there's so much of like keeping up with the technology, and dealing with things like video production and lighting and equipment. But if you just kind of did it for fun and just kind of screwed around, it wouldn't be as fulfilling as having some knowledge plus using that to play around with. And I'm sure that even without having seen the Red Meat Kitchen, I'm sure like the production quality looks super good. And I'm sure that you practice what you preach, and you have the brand colors and you have the music, but it would be so easy to just fool around and not have these elevated levels of fun and fulfillment from it.
No, totally. But it also is a burden. It's like the more you know about anything, the more you know about kickball, the more The more you're like, yeah, I do need the right shoes, or yeah, I don't have the right ball, or you just kind of get into, yeah, I got to practice my swing, or, yeah, I guess my kick better, or you just start getting into knowing all the things you can do to make yourself better. And sometimes that gets in the way of just making content and having fun. And uh, so you have to find that balance for sure, because sometimes it is super fun, because you feel like you're really knocking it out of the park and you're giving it your best, and other times you're bogged down because you got to give it your best, because you feel guilty if you don't, and
And,
yeah.
and so do you have any words of advice on that point as we're kind of approaching these last few minutes of our conversation? Because like that comes to mind all the time is, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that I have a document just full of YouTube ideas, and I get to
Ooh,
them with some regularity, and
right.
I'll usually go down the list and I'll be like, well, this seems like something that it's not just easy for me, but it's easy and important and it's timely. I'll move it to the top of the list, and many times I'll just knock out a video right then and there, so that way I'm not getting caught in like the over planning days. And so, do you have any words of advice as far as like staying organized, sticking to a schedule, and cranking out that video? Because it seems like sometimes it gets pushed to the bottom of the list, and I'm sure that some people, including me, but I'm sure others could use that encouragement, motivation to keep on cranking out the content.
Well, what gets scheduled gets done. Me and Joe with Red Meat Lover, we plan out. We schedule that we're going to have a shoot day, and we batch. We try and get 5 recipes shot in a day, and we spend the whole time, the whole day doing it. If we're going to set up and we're going to spend our mind, energy, and attention on it, and we've already blocked out time from work, the rest of work, then let's make it good, and let's so we don't have to come back as often either, to shoot. So that helps. And then uh, my biggest tip, to be honest with you, as I'm getting older, is outsource your editing. There are some amazing editors out there, including us. We offer a video editing service because, as I have gotten more experienced and more focused on owning a business rather than just working in a business, uh, video editing is such a time. Uh, so it's so time intensive. It's expensive in the fact that you need some gear, you need hard drives, and some software. And boy, you can just never end with editing. The more you do it, the better it gets. And then you're just clicking, and you get kind of paralyzed on just shipping the damn thing. And so I'd highly recommend hiring an editor. So you're still the master of your content. You're the pro. That's why we need to learn from you. But hiring an editor to make you look good, it can go a very long way and not burn you out. Because I feel like if I'm shooting the stuff and then having to edit it, I had to do that today for a quick little social media post, and me having to sit there and edit. It's like, this isn't the best use of my time, but we got to get it out today. And our editors are already booked today, so I'm sitting here in the seat, cranking it out. But that's one of those things that if you can plan ahead, outline or kind of script what you want to say. I have we have some free resources at my website, bearway.com, that has the best thing that I can give you there is that we have a free resource called the push record checklist, which is a list of things that you need to consider before push and record. So, check your wardrobe, check your hair, know how you're going to get in and out of of the, um, of the story or the recording that you're going to do. You usually know the middle part, but it's the beginning. Like, how am I going to start? And then how am I going to wrap this up? So you just don't keep moving, keep chattering along like I'm doing right now. But also, there's other things like that that are really helpful. Like, make sure you format your SD card if you're shooting with a camera. Make sure your light's nice. Check the background to make sure there's no distractions. Make sure the sound's quiet, that the dishwasher's not running, or whatever, that there's nobody jackhammering next door. So stuff like that. So that push record checklist is a free resource that we have on our website.
Well, fantastic. Well, I think you just gave us three really excellent things for us to consider. Thing number one is if there's something that you need to be doing, schedule it. Know the start and the end
Yeah.
time, and know in that space, will you be doing 5 videos? Will you be doing 3 videos? And I think that's been my problem lately, Bear. Like I said, like I've got all these other things that I have, but as far as being consistent with the YouTube videos, I record them when there's time for it, which, as you know, sometimes there's zero time unless you carve out the time ahead of time. So that's one thing for us to keep in mind is number one, to schedule the important things before we do them. And then at the end there, you were saying how important it is to basically have a checklist, even though it might seem tedious, like, oh, make sure the dishwasher's off, still have that checklist. So that way you know when you're getting in and out of the story. And then in the middle there, you talked about the importance of having a video editor, which I've just now recently started doing. I have kind of a virtual assistant, and he's not the best editor, but I don't care that much about having like movie level production quality. But there are certain things that I like to have in my videos. Like I like to have music. I like to have like a URL at the bottom. And I'm a little bit of a sucker for maybe not like exact subtitles like the Gary V kind of videos. But if I'm on a topic, or I say an important sentence, I kind of want the text to be right there on the bottom. And for me to go back and watch my own videos 5 or 10 times and be like, oh, where's the sentence? Like, that's not, like you said, it's not a good use of my time. And I also relate to what you said in there a little bit of, since I'm getting older, I think maybe my brain is not as like fluid or something. And to switch gears from being like the high level business owner, content creator, and then switch over to being someone who's like editing software and making clicks, and then switch back to being the marketer again. Like, I'm not sure if it's an age thing or what, but like my brain can't handle that anymore. And I don't want to do it. Yeah, it is exhausting. And unlike you said, we all kind of have maybe a little bit of that skill. Like I can jump in and do some programming. I can do some copywriting. I can do some video editing. I can do it if I have to, if I don't have the time planned well, or something's due soon. But do I want to do that all day, every day, and always be switching gears? I mean, that sounds exhausting. So a lot of what you've mentioned here today are like very doable, easy tips that or maybe like so obvious that we haven't even noticed that they're staring right in front of our face. And so we need to be going back to basics, taking these steps, doing these things. And you said that bearwade.com is that place where we can find some of these free resources, BEARWADE. And yes, we also want to plug the book and then the branding and the company. So in addition to bearwade.com, where else should we go? And what else should we do if our appetite has been energized and we need to get some good stuff from you?
Yeah, no, a lot of the free resources and a place where you can pick up the book. And we're recording a course right now, so I have to do a lot of video shooting myself. So I've been trying to schedule it and trying to block out time for it, just like you. But no, the all of that you can find at bearwade.com. So just start there. That's a great place. We also have a quiz, so you can figure out which brand step you're on, and all the brand steps are listed there, so you can figure out. I kind of rattle them off, but it's going to be hard to remember them all. So if you get a chance, you can go there, bearwade.com, and go to the Unify Brand Steps.
Fantastic. And just to put an end cap on the Dave Ramsey stuff, because it seems like that's been the analogy we've been using. You can learn the Dave Ramsey steps in about 20 seconds, right? It's just a list. But then as a prospect or as a consumer, it took me at least 6 to 12 months, if not longer, to actually digest it. So that's like something. Well, and like Dave Ramsey is such a good example as far as like the content marketing and making it simple and all of that. Like there's so many little Dave Ramsey lessons where like it took me so many months just to digest just the list that was right in front of me in the beginning. And at first maybe I felt stupid, but I mean, I'm not stupid. I know the people out there who are trying to get a grip on this marketing thing, this video thing, this branding thing, whatever it is, wherever they're stuck with their course or their software, they need to get the word out. They need traffic, they need sales. The lesson I'm getting here is you're not stupid, even if the list is short. Sometimes it takes a while to digest what exactly it means. And the place to get started, the place to take the very first step is go to bearwade.com, poke around, see what excites you, because as we said at the beginning here, Bear, people learn in different ways. So maybe someone learns best from getting your book, taking your quiz, reading some of the content there. But the good news is it's all there at bearwade.com to jump in and see what happens next. And any final parting words or advice as we wrap up our conversation today?
No, I mean, really, once you use the steps, you don't get overwhelmed with doing all of the things. You don't have to worry about doing all the steps at once, just like Dave Ramsey's baby steps. If you have debt, you're going to focus on your debt snowball. If you don't have once you figure out which step you're on, you just focus on that one. You don't have to do all the other things yet. So it really will help you focus on what's the most important for growing your company and scaling as you go. And I wish you all prosperous business ventures.
Fantastic. And so to take the next step, go to bearwade.com. Bear Wade, thanks for stopping by and helping us out here.
I appreciate it, Robert. Thank you so much.